The pinnacle of human perspective.
Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you so much for joining. Well, the Schumann Resonance is often called the heartbeat of the Earth. There have been studies linking the Schumann not only to human brainwave activity, but also to the human heart. Since we talk about the Schumann on this show so much and consider the impact it may have on human consciousness as we transition to a higher dimensional existence, one of unconditional love, peace, and unity, whether or not it's connected with the Mandela effect many of us have been experiencing, where we have clear memories of things being one way, but now they appear to have never been that way, I thought it was fitting to look at some of the ongoing research being conducted in this field. I also came up with a clever way to present what the Schumann resonances might sound like if we were able to hear them. More on that later. The Schumann resonances are planet-wide electromagnetic resonances or reverberations generated and excited by lightning discharges in the cavity formed by the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. The cavity is naturally excited by electric currents and lightning. Excited by lightning, you might ask? Yes. You see, at any given time, there are actually about 2,000 thunderstorms happening around the planet. This produces roughly about 50 lightning strikes per second worldwide. These thunderstorms are directly linked to the background Schumann resonance signal. I won't bore you with all the details, but basically when there's a lightning strike, that lightning bolt acts like an antenna and it emits electromagnetic energy at frequencies below about 100,000 hertz. I'm not sure if this is an issue anymore now that we're sort of in the digital age, but it used to be that you could see the interference in your TV or hear the static on your radio if you were close enough to a lightning strike. So Schumann resonances are the principal background in the part of the electromagnetic spectrum from 0 to 60 hertz and appear as distinct peaks at extremely low frequencies around 7.83 hertz, which is the fundamental frequency people tend to think of, but also at around 14, 20, 26, 33, 39, and 45 hertz as well. Think of these frequencies like strings on a guitar for a moment, because there's an ongoing debate as to whether or not these frequencies are increasing. Scientists will say these frequencies haven't increased, while others will say they have increased or are increasing. Well, who's right? Well, assuming for a moment time is indeed a constant and scientists have the need to be precise in their wording, we can't really blame them, it's sort of their job description. The scientists are technically right. You see, the frequencies as they relate to time, hertz, which hertz are cycles per second, these strings are still playing the same notes they've played for decades. Therefore, the frequencies themselves are not increasing. So back to the analogy of the strings on the guitar. The notes being played aren't changing as in being tuned upward. It's how hard they are being strummed that is increasing when we observe the Schumann going crazy. This is called the amplitude or intensity of the frequencies. So to make the scientists happy, we should technically say the amplitude of the Schumann frequencies have increased today, or did you notice that peak in the Schumann frequency's amplitude? That being said, time is considered a constant. Because of that, many measurements, including hertz, are tied directly to time. So if time were to speed up a little, which many feel it has, and the frequencies appear to be at the same cycles per second, they would have actually increased. Unfortunately, there's really no way of testing this if everything shifts and changes together with a change in time itself. Okay, so what would the Earth's heartbeat sound like if we could hear it? I played a little clip of it, but I wanted to see with a simple experiment that you all can duplicate on your own if you want at home on your computer. I use this free program called Audacity where you can go to the top, click Generate Tone, and enter in a frequency you desire to hear. Since the Schumann resonances start at frequencies outside the range of what the human ear can hear, I simply added 100 hertz to each one so we can observe the sound. You may actually need to wear headphones or earbuds to really hear it, since it's still pretty low, and some cell phones and handheld devices, the speakers on them just don't play sounds that are very bassy. So if you don't hear anything, try plugging in earbuds or listening on a different device that has a better bass response. I did want to mention when I spoke about this experiment some time ago, someone suggested that I multiply each frequency by a number rather than just adding a number to each. The reason I chose adding 100 hertz to each frequency is because by doing so, the differences between the frequencies would remain intact. It's the difference between the frequencies that create the beat as the frequencies affect one another. Like binaural beats, where two frequencies interfere with one another to create a new third frequency, we're looking at 7 main frequencies that make up the Schumann resonances. When these 7 frequencies are combined, they create a tone that is the sum of all 7. Let's first look at the tones individually with 100 hertz added to each, and then we'll listen to them all at the same time to get a good idea of what the Schumann sounds like to our heart and brain on a subconscious level. We'll start with the first, 107.8, 114, 120, 126, 133, 139, and 145. Now let's combine them all to get a good idea of what the heartbeat of Earth would actually sound like. Pretty exciting stuff, huh? Okay, so I want to briefly touch on some of the research that has been conducted and is still being conducted as it relates to our connection with Earth, as well as the energy we all put out all of the time, and some tips to help us put out positive vibes as we go about our day, since many of us recognize our roles as starseeds, love light workers, volunteers sent here to planet Earth to assist in raising the planet's vibration. I will have links below in the description area if you'd like to look more into this research for yourself. Okay, there's 2 main ways I know about to check out the Schumann Resonance. The one that we typically show on the show, I go to mrmbb333.com and scroll down and just click Schumann. And we typically use this one because it's more real time. It's only a few minutes delayed and you can sort of see what's happening at the moment. And the way this one is read is, if you look along the left side here, you will see that it's got the frequencies from 0 to 40, starting at the top and working down to the bottom. Across the top you will see the date, and across the bottom you will see the times. That's in local Russian time. This sensor is actually in Russia. But we prefer this one because it's more real time and you can keep an eye on it. The color ranges from black, which isn't receiving any data, to white, which is off the charts. So as it increases, it goes through blue, and then into green and yellow and orange, and then red, and then after red it gets into white, which is basically off the charts. And this one's a little bit easier because you can actually see the frequencies here. So you can see when it goes off the charts, it does appear that like it's increasing, also in frequency as well as in amplitude. But if you look closely, you can see these lines going across here at the different Schumann frequencies. They're there, which is why it's blue, but they're just at the bottom of the scale. The other way to look at the Schumann is to go over to the Spectrogram calendar available at the heartmath.org website. And here you can actually see all of these different locations. The one we were just looking at was a single location in Russia. Now this one has 6 different locations. If you scroll underneath it, you can see which one of the locations you're looking at. Like GCI 001, this top one, it's actually in California. The next one is in Saudi Arabia. The next is Lithuania. 004 is in Alberta, Canada. 5 is in Northland, New Zealand. And 6 is in South Africa. So you can see here, number 6 is all black, so it's not receiving any data. Also, I mentioned earlier that the Russian one was real time. You can see on this one that November 30th, which as of the recording of this date was yesterday, so you don't get real time data, but you can see up into the day before that you look at it. What's different about these is that each one of these rows is a different sensor around the planet, as I explained, but you can click on them and you can check them out, get them much bigger. You can see a whole day here. Now what's different about this one compared to the other one is the other one starts at the top is the lowest frequency and it goes down. So when you're looking at here, this is 0 to 40 is at the bottom. But when we're looking at this website, the bottom is 0 and the top is actually 50. So it goes a little bit higher. But you can see these bands going across here at the different Schumann frequencies. And it's similar in the way that when it's black, it's not receiving anything. And when it gets this really bright yellow, that's like pegged off the chart. So it kind of moves from blue into pink, into the reddish, orangish, yellowish, and then it's off the chart. So you can see the intensity of the frequencies. And you can pick a certain location and look at it. And we can see the different frequencies, these lines going across here. And just know like halfway is going to be around 25 hertz. The bottom is 0. The top is 50. You can get an idea of how the Schumann is being measured at these different locations. And just like the other one, left to right is time. So the left edge would be the beginning of this day. The right side would be the end of this day. So this is moving through time from left to right. And then the frequency is from bottom to top, getting higher as we move up. So it's a little different than the other site, but I do prefer the other one because it's real-time data. I can see this up to just a few minutes ago. So I do prefer this one because if I'm feeling a headache coming on or something like that and I wonder if it's the Schumann, I can look over here. But you can also see on this website over here that they don't always react at the same time. Like this one's off the chart. This one did have an uptick. This one was a little bit behind, and this one had an uptick. So they all sort of had it, but they just responded differently. So if you want to look in your area, whether it's America, you can look at the first line, or up in Canada, which is this fourth one, you can just pick your area that you want to see. And if you're wanting to know something for right now, you'll have to come back tomorrow and see what today's data looks like because it is lagging a day behind. But that's a general idea on how you can tell what's going on these instruments. Let's first look at the scientific research linking our brain to that of the Schumann resonances. Scientists have shown a similarity between the electrical components of the time-varying voltages generated by the human brain, as measured by EEGs, with the Schumann resonances. While examining the Schumann resonances with the EEGs in a group of participants over a 6-week period, they found that during the daily cycle, changes in the EEG were similar to the variations in the Schumann resonances. In another study, the research related to human brain waves in the Schumann resonances suggests that under certain conditions, variables affecting the Schumann parameters, such as solar wind, may affect brain activity, such as modifications of perception and dream-related memory consolidation. Now, I do want to point out something about this last research study because we mentioned earlier that the Schumann was caused primarily by lightning strikes, but as this last study shows, there are other factors that can affect the Schumann because they affect the Earth's ionosphere, which is one of the key components in the creation of the Schumann resonances. Research within the last decade shows that significant alterations in solar and geomagnetic activity caused by such things as geomagnetic storms can precipitate significant changes in the intensity and stability of a Schumann resonance signal. This can take a Schumann resonance signal outside of its normal range and induce alterations in brain and heart synchronizations and changes in the brain's melatonin level. It's also important to note that man-made electronics can interfere with our connection to the Earth, so getting out in nature away from electronics as often as possible will actually help you feel better. If you can't get out in nature, you can unplug power supplies and turn off electronic devices to minimize the concentration of these man-made electromagnetic fields. Being in areas of highly concentrated man-made electromagnetic fields can actually make us feel depressed. So try to unplug some stuff and enjoy nature wherever you are. These are not just optimistic suggestions, but actually backed by solid scientific research. Thus, we see that the Schumann resonances, geomagnetic, and solar activity influence human health and behavior. It is exciting to see that the study of Schumann resonances points towards the interconnectedness of all, us, our planet Earth, the Sun, and probably many other planetary factors we have yet to prove scientifically. Not only do studies show a connection with the human heart and brain waves with that of the Schumann, There are studies that show geomagnetic activity also affect us in many ways. The studies suggest the cardiovascular system is a clear target for the impact of geomagnetic disturbances. A more recent study I read focused on identification of a group's physiological synchronization with Earth's magnetic field. The study suggested that of all the physiological systems studied thus far, the rhythms of the heart and brain are most strongly associated with changes in geomagnetic conditions. As you may already know, all living creatures generate their own local energetic or magnetic fields. In the case of humans, scientists have measured this field up to several feet away. Scientists all around the world have conducted numerous studies on the magnetic fields radiating from humans. They have looked at the so-called local environmental fields that surround humans and the influence these fields may have on our thoughts and emotions as we interact with one another, which is why I think our group, on our mission to help change the world, needs to know more about this topic so we can live more effectively as we interact with those who have yet to wake up and think we're a little out there, or maybe even a little crazy. Speaking of crazy, this next research sounds a little crazy too, but it's actually true. Each individual's thoughts, attitudes, and emotions emit energetic fields. These individual field environments not only affect you, your health, and perspective on life, they also can influence your relationships and experiences in your social field environments as you interact with people, or even if you are merely in the same room with other people. Can we change our individual social and even planetary environments and create the one in which we choose to live? As you will see, the research suggests we can. Attitudes of coherent, genuine love, appreciation, care, and compassion change a field environment, both locally, say in a meeting you're in, and throughout the world. Coherence is a highly efficient state in which all of the body's systems work together in harmony. Increasing personal coherence creates an alignment of mind, body, emotions, and spirit through the power of the heart. Heart coherence serves as a facilitator, adding strength and effectiveness to your care, compassion, intentions, and actions to help the world. So check this out. The electromagnetic field generated by the heart is the most powerful rhythmic energy field produced by the body. Studies conducted in HeartMath Institute's laboratories have shown that the heart's electromagnetic field can be detected by other individuals and can produce measurable effects in a person 5 feet away. Their data shows that the heart's electromagnetic field becomes more organized during positive emotional, heart-coherent states. So sometimes we wake up in the morning and our energy field is sunny side up and bubbly. Then our pitch drops after a few bumpy interactions such as a spilled coffee, lost keys, being late for work, and so on. Such frustrations often magnetize more negative thoughts, insecurity, and anxiety, leaving you more vulnerable to plate overload, impossible time crunches, and personal energy drain. You can reset the pitch of your individual field environment by doing the following. Stop. Relax a few minutes while imagining yourself breathing the attitude of neutral in through your heart or chest. This quiets the energy of frustration and anxiety. Then you can recenter yourself in the heart and replace the negative-filled environment with a positive attitude and outlook. Then tell yourself, you're back in charge now. It's important to learn to shift your pitch in the field environment when you find yourself in the drain mode. Let's talk a little bit about the social field environments. A family dinner, your next business meeting, a social gathering are examples of social field environments. When you hear someone say, you could cut the tension in the room with a knife, in essence, this is referring to a turbulent field environment. Lively discussions in business meetings that spiral down into arguments can leave people in the room feeling, why even be here? What a waste of my precious time, etc. In contrast, you've also probably been in places with people communicating from their heart space and heard comments that the energy in the room, which is the field environment, was upbeat, heart-based, and inspired creative interaction and solutions. The people felt refreshed and energized by the positive field environment. The collective energy in a room makes up the field environment, which vibrates at a certain pitch. The overall room pitch or vibration is based on the collective pitch of the individuals in the room. Often, when just a few individuals take the initiative, they can change the collective room vibration by increasing their own pitch. This can be done by radiating the attitude of peace and flow into the field environment while doing deep heart listening, with the intent remaining neutral without judgment. Then sharing from the heart becomes easier and more objective without the negative energy that brings down the collective field environment. As individuals practice maintaining their pitch, then the stronger the collective positive field environment becomes. This brings us to the planetary field environment and the reason we're all here. The planetary field environment encompasses Earth and its people. Much of it is made up of the collective consciousness of the inhabitants. Radiating love into the planetary field environment increases the positive energy, making it easier for the planet and its inhabitants to shift and transmute the accumulated negative energy. Even sending 2 minutes of loving care a day to Mother Earth can help make a big difference. More and more people are feeling the intuitive nudge to participate in these types of exercises because of a growing sense of responsibility as caretakers. It also helps to take some time to envision the planet the way you want it to be, because thoughts and imagination precede the creation and manifestation of what we are trying to obtain, like more peace, love, unity, health, and wealth for all. Besides caring for the Earth, another major facet of the planetary shift is realizing the need to be more responsible for our own energy, thoughts, feelings, and actions. This especially will upgrade the personal and global field environment. Remember, we are always creating an effective or ineffective field environment with whatever thoughts, feelings, and attitudes we are experiencing or putting out. We can consciously affect positive change in our personal and social field environments. Then the positive field environment will multiply our potential to experience a more balanced and joyful life. As one family, let's lend a hand and raise the planetary pitch together. Have a good one. If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.